Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grid Live News Sunday. We are 1 week away from the World Rally Championship season kickoff, 2 weeks away from the Rolex 24 Hours at Daytona. We invite you to participate in the chat room. Joe Samaniego here, along with Kobe Lambeth from the podium finish. We'll start with IndyCar potentially adding another former Formula One driver.
On Thursday, Chris Metlin from Racer Magazine reported that Romain Grosjean is close to signing with Dale Coyne Racing to compete in the NTT IndyCar series. Initially, he was linked to the number 4 Chevrolet at AJ Foyt Racing, but it went to Dalton Kellett instead. The Bahrain Grand Prix left many wondering about Grosjean's next move. A move to IndyCar would mean he would have to race on ovals, assuming it's a full-time deal. We know that Grosjean has mixed feelings about oval racing. How exciting is the thought of Romain Grosjean going to IndyCar racing?
Romain Grosjean IndyCar racing, I think, will be really exciting for the IndyCar fans to see him come to the track, and then, of course, for all of Romain Grosjean fans as well. The last images we have from Romain Grosjean on the track, of course, the Bahrain Grand Prix, surviving that scary crash. We've seen him improving each and every week on Twitter. His hands are healing. To see him on the track, that's going to be really exciting for the fans that follow him internationally. And this is just going to be something where I feel he is really going to bring a lot of star power. We see drivers come in, he brings some fans. Romain Grosjean, especially after everything he's been through, he's going to bring a lot of fans, a lot of attention, and I think a lot of sponsorship as well.
Yeah, it would definitely be really exciting to see Romain Grosjean competing in IndyCar, and especially his last few years in Formula One haven't exactly been the best, running towards the back of the pack. Haven't really been competitive. So Romain Grosjean and a lot of other Formula One drivers we're seeing that while they weren't really competitive in Formula One, you can go to IndyCar and you can have a much better chance of being competitive. Go out there, fight for podiums and race wins, and I think that's something that Romain Grosjean will be very excited to do if he indeed does sign with Dale Coyne Racing and go IndyCar racing later this year. And a deal is expected to be announced sometime next week. And if he joins IndyCar, that'll mean we'll have another ex-Formula One driver on the grid, joining the likes of Alexander Rossi, Marcus Ericsson, Takuma Sato, and Sebastian Bourdais. Also racing in IndyCar this year, we have Scott McLaughlin from Supercars and Jimmy Johnson from NASCAR. With that said, do you consider the IndyCar grid the most star-studded field in comparison to Formula One or NASCAR?
Yes, this is one of the most star-studded fields. All the names you mentioned, and of course we have Felix Rosenqvist. He did Formula E, names from all around the world. Colton Herta, and of course Scott Dixon. If you were to mention all these names and told me they're all in equally prepared cars, I would call this the next IROC series. This is just a big star-studded field. It's going to be really exciting for the fans because you got drivers from all different disciplines coming here. And I really see this just being something where NASCAR, a lot of times people say they're oval centered. Here we are. Now they're looking at some road courses. Formula One, people are questioning about, are the drivers that are in Formula One really the top drivers in the world? And you got IndyCar right here saying, look at our driver lineup. Formula One drivers, NASCAR Cup Series drivers, Australian Supercar drivers, Formula E drivers. It's amazing. This is definitely going to be one of the most exciting series to follow.
Yeah, definitely. This is one of the most anticipated IndyCar seasons that I can remember in recent memory. And it's certainly going to be interesting to see if we'll see any more star-studded drivers on the grid. We know Kevin Magnussen is going to be racing with Chip Ganassi Racing this year in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship in the Cadillac DPI. And I wonder if Kevin's gonna try to make his IndyCar debut this year. I know Felipe Nasr has still been linked to Carlin Racing. He was supposed to race in IndyCar last year, but unfortunately because of the pandemic, that wasn't able to happen. And I'm sure Felipe would definitely love to make his IndyCar debut as well. And well, actually late last year, the most recent Formula E champion Antonio Felix da Costa tested with Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. And he said that he would be open to racing in IndyCar someday or coming back over for another test. So I'm wondering if are we going to see the most recent Formula E champion racing IndyCar this year as well, or maybe next year. Yes, certainly a lot of IndyCar is attracting a lot of star power. And on Thursday, you and Daniel from Racers, the girls behind the helmet, interviewed W Series driver Alice Powell. You asked Alice about potentially doing IndyCar, and she expressed her interest in the series. Do you think IndyCar should look into racing overseas in Europe, South America, or Australia, or is it just way too expensive to do something like that?
That's the big thing when it comes to cutting costs, keeping costs down low. Not traveling overseas, of course, makes it where it is not that expensive. However, let's take a look at Australia. They used to race at the Gold Coast, Surfers Paradise. If they were to go there, Will Power is an Australian driver. You got two New Zealanders racing, and Scott Dixon and the defending Supercar Series champion Scott McLaughlin. That's going to be a huge crowd out there. Now that we have Romain Grosjean to throw us a race in Europe, I feel he would definitely bring the crowds there. Of course, you got the star power of Takuma Sato, who has raced Formula One, has a big fan following. If they were to go to Japan, that could be really huge. So definitely, I think the potential is there. The big thing is, of course, the IndyCar series, keeping the costs down low for the teams. That's one of the big things. That's why we have smaller teams like Dale Coyne Racing that can compete with some of the bigger teams like Chip Ganassi and Penske.
Yeah, I think it would be really exciting if IndyCar could race somewhere overseas, Europe, South America, Australia, China, whatever. But I think if something like that were to happen, it would have to be the season opener or something like sometime in February. But before getting to St. Pete in March, assuming that's gonna remain the season opener in a regular IndyCar season, I think that would help as well, rather than trying to schedule an overseas event right in the middle of of the season. But definitely that's an interesting prospect. You mentioned IndyCar's definitely raced overseas before, and I know, yeah, and it's really gonna be interesting to see where this goes moving forward. And we'll continue to follow the Roman Grosjean story and everything else, and provide updates hopefully on the next episode of Grid Tonight, Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time and 3:30 Pacific. On Thursday, Beard Motorsports announced Noah Gragson will attempt the Daytona 500 in number 62 Chevrolet. If Gragson makes the Great American Race, this would be his NASCAR Cup Series debut. Brendan Gaudin, who started 17 races with Beard Motorsports, handpicked Gragson himself. Initially, he asked Jimmy Johnson if he wanted to race for Beard, but the seven-time champion declined the offer. Then he turned to his fellow Las Vegas native, citing Noah's ability to keep the car in one piece at the end to finish the race. Beard Motorsports is an open team without a charter, so they aren't locked in. They have to get in on speed or race their way in through the duels at Daytona. Spirit Motorsports is continuing their technical partnership with Richard Childress Racing, and this is a significant boost for Beard to have an upcoming young talent who is expected to contend for the Xfinity Series title this year with Junior Motorsports. This is a massive opportunity for Noah Gragson to go out there, gain experience at the Cup level, help the team improve, and try to pull off the ultimate upset. Noah said himself, I quote, to have it become a reality is something I don't take lightly. I'm ready for this moment, and I'm proud to have it.
One of the big news that came out, sticking with NASCAR, we're going to see essentially Pitbull joining Trackhouse Racing. Yesterday it was announced that the Grammy Award winning superstar is joining Justin Marks, founder, co-owner of Trackhouse Racing. Pitbull say he's been a fan of NASCAR since Days of Thunder, met with Justin Marks and Daniel Suarez, and said they were on the same page. Pitbull is definitely going to be bringing celebrity recognition to Trackhouse Racing. How does this impact Trackhouse Racing being a brand new team in NASCAR?
Oh, this is huge. I'm gonna be honest. I was totally floored when that news came out yesterday, saying Pitbull was joining NASCAR as a co-owner. I mean, this is not just huge for Trackhouse and Justin Marks, but it's just huge for NASCAR as a whole. Now it's really crazy. Now Pitbull is the owner in the sport now. Michael Jordan as well, and maybe we're gonna have Floyd Mayweather coming in with the Money Racing team. We haven't really heard much about them, but if that team comes to fruition, that is going to be huge for NASCAR. Having three well-known names to the public in general joining the sport, that's gonna bring a lot more eyes on the sport. Joe, what would you do if I told you months ago that we were gonna have Pitbull, Michael Jordan, and potentially Floyd Mayweather owning cars in the NASCAR Cup Series? This is crazy, but it's really good for the sport moving forward, especially as NASCAR tries to bring new fans into the sport.
Yeah, I would have not known if you had told me that in January of 2020. I'd be questioning your ideas about motorsports and how you follow it. But definitely, this is really exciting, as you mentioned. Pitbull, Michael Jordan, bringing new fans and a diverse fan group. to NASCAR. Now, of course, Justin Marks from Trackhouse said the team, he wants to make an impact on and off the track. From day one of creating Trackhouse Racing, I wanted our team to be a platform of purpose to transcend the sport and possibly impact all races on and off the track. Mark and Pitbull will launch a racing themed STEM curriculum with SLAM, Sports Leadership, Art, Management, Inner City Charter Schools. This looks like a win-win again for NASCAR, reaching new, diverse, and younger audience. Would you agree?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And when the Trackhouse Racing Team program first came about, Justin Marks said himself that he wanted to make he wanted to make a difference and help out in this way. And I think Marks and Pitbull focusing on this initiative based around STEM education, especially in those inner city charter schools, as you mentioned, that's going to be really huge to get in the next generation into motorsports. I know on our last news program, we talked about the younger audience in these motorsport series trying their best to reach these new younger audiences. And by the looks of social media, it seems like we have a lot of younger fans coming into NASCAR and other forms of racing. So I think that Justin Marks, Justin's a really smart guy, and he really knows what's coming in the years to come, and I'm sure he's going to fulfill all of the promises that he's made.
Definitely is looking very promising, and they're definitely looking good for the inaugural season in the Cup Series. Pitbull will be attending the Daytona 500, with the Trackhouse Racing being their first season in NASCAR, and at all levels, the Cup Series, they have a technical alliance with Richard Childress Racing, so they're definitely going to have a competitive equipment, and they have a lease charter with Spire Motorsport. So, of course, that's definitely going to help them throughout the year as well in being locked into every race. So, definitely is looking really promising for the team. Now, some big news, of course, we also have to report. Yesterday, surprising news, Marco Andretti will not be running full-time in the NTT IndyCar Series. Andretti said he has decided to hit reset and change up his driving racing career. This includes the option of sports car racing with his cousin Jared, and would welcome doing the 24 hours of Daytona, Le Mans, and Sebring 12 hours. Andretti is still seeking an Indianapolis 500 win and will race the Indy 500. Nathan Brown from the Indianapolis Indy Star, reported that the Andretti Autosport will only field 4 full-time teams next season. Last year, Andretti Autosport struggled with only 1 win from Colton Herta. Still, Andretti Autosport is looking to rebound and prove they're one of the top teams in IndyCar. This past week, Charles Leclerc and Ferrari released a statement that the driver had tested positive for COVID. Once Charles noticed the symptoms, he got tested. This is not long after a video surfaced of him playing tug-of-war with an animal at a zoo. Charles wasn't wearing a mask. However, since the end of the season, many have been critical of Formula One drivers not taking the pandemic seriously. Lando Norris tested positive during a holiday vacation. Daniel Ricciardo has been sharing photos of his trip to Los Angeles on social media. And this is kind of when many are starting to question Formula One and the drivers on the grid. We reported on the Nikita Mazepin incident, which has brought a spotlight on drivers with private funding. The Formula One We Race as One campaign didn't see the unity level many expected. Even now, many consider the campaign a joke. And the sport is notorious for only making decisions that are monetarily beneficial to the sport, even at the expense of fans voicing their displeasure. Recently, BFF1 did a video about drivers not taking the pandemic seriously and citing their privileges as putting them out of touch. We have a link in the video description. Kobe, are Formula One drivers given the appearance that the pandemic is not a serious concern to them?
Well, Joe, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not gonna sit here and bash people for living their lives, and personally, that's one of things that I've tried to work on during this pandemic. Whenever I saw people doing something I didn't think was smart, I was very critical of it and be like, that's something they don't be doing. But in all honesty, I'm just trying to focus on myself, and I probably wouldn't be doing all of the things that they're doing, to be honest. And you also have to look at the fact that these Formula One drivers are public figures. So whatever they do is gonna, and especially if it's wrong, there's gonna be a lot of scrutiny that comes with it. And and Lando Norris being on a holiday vacation in the middle of a pandemic, I know with a lot of people that's not gonna sit well. And Charles Leclerc playing with the animal zoo, not wearing a mask during a pandemic, when that's something that's been highly suggested by medical experts for months and months now. That's definitely not a good look for Charles Leclerc as well. And they mentioned Daniel Ricciardo on a trip in Los Angeles. So I know there's gonna be a lot of criticism coming from that. And I'm not gonna necessarily say that Formula One drivers aren't taking the pandemic seriously, because I've been following the news this entire pandemic. I've read a lot of stories of people who have taken the pandemic very seriously, but they still test positive. So and plus, I don't really know what goes on in the drivers' personal lives, obviously. So I'm not gonna sit here and slam on them for living their lives the way that they choose.
It's definitely one of the things you bring up. They're a public figure. A lot of times people will look at them as a public figure and sometimes emulate what they do. If they're influenced by their actions. That's one concern I have, especially taking holidays, participating in events like playing tug of war with a lion, not wearing a mask. I feel that's more of a luxury than rather than a necessity. It's definitely one of those things where I feel, yeah, they will be under scrutiny. This is something where they're in the wrong. Well, it's one of the big things is they got celebrity status, they got the wealth, and they got a lot of privilege. And that's one of the things that's starting to, I think, get a lot of people is sort of they're appearing like they're using their privilege, their status, as not really caring about the pandemic. Now, of course, we did discuss about NASCAR effort to get a younger audience, the Gen Z crowd, and so is Formula One. Formula One even has a healthy number of Gen Z from YouTube content creators. The questionable handling of issues like Mazepin, which brought a lot of criticism over Formula One, and now this hurt the drivers being a role model.
Yeah, I definitely think it'll hurt, especially that Mazepin situation. Formula One did not handle that in the right manner, and Haas F1 as well. In some ways, it seemed like that's something that they just kind of brushed aside. I know Gunther Steiner in one of our previous news programs, we talked about the article he wrote in the race, addressing the concerns about Nikita Mazepin, and still a lot of people think that wasn't enough. While they appreciate the fact of him acknowledging the situation, we still feel like something enough wasn't done. Like Formula One didn't do like what NASCAR did with Haley Deegan, and suspend Mazepin indefinitely and make him participate in sensitivity training, and made it be known that he would be doing that. I feel like if Formula One would have followed NASCAR's lead in this situation, then it would have been a lot better, and better received well in the public. And then having drivers who we mentioned, public figures out there, it doesn't seem like they're taking the pandemic seriously as they probably should be. And there's a lot of people out there that look up to these drivers, since they're in the limelight. They're celebrities, popular, famous, all of that jazz. And we know young in the younger audience, they tend to emulate these heroes in their eyes. And if a Charles Leclerc fan sees Charles Leclerc at the zoo not wearing a mask, and they'll think, I can get away with not wearing a mask as well. And then you get infected with the virus and infect your family, and it's a bad day for everyone.
You hit all around the head. Essentially, these drivers are looked up to, the handling and everything lately. It could really easily, I feel, turn off fans, especially when you have some popular drivers like Romain Grosjean. He's not in Formula One. They're going to go to IndyCar, check out IndyCar. If you see drivers in NASCAR sending a better role model like Bubba Wallace, people are going to tune into Bubba Wallace, NASCAR. So definitely, I feel this is something that could hurt F1 in the long haul, especially if more fans start to get turned off by some of the action from the drivers. Now, some upcoming drivers in the Red Bull Junior Driver Program. Red Bull announced their drivers for the Formula 2 and Formula 3 2021 lineup. Liam Lawson from New Zealand, who scored 3 wins last season in Formula 3, and Yuri Vips from Estonia are going to be racing in Formula 2 in 2021 with Red Bull. Lawson is also racing in DTM alongside Red Bull's Alex Albon, who drives a Ferrari 488 GT3. Johan Daruvala retains his seat with Carlin in Formula 2. Then we have 15-year-old Jack Crawford and Honda-backed Ayuma Awasa entering Formula 3. Crawford is an American-born driver on the road to Formula 1. Johnny Edgar joins Carlin in Formula 3, and Dennis Hoglund has already been announced with the 2020 champion Prima in Formula 3. The Red Bull Junior Driver Program is definitely one of the most competitive programs in all of motorsports. Verstappen, Vettel, DaCosta, many big names have come out of that program. Criticism lately, especially of drivers that are not performing, not getting a fair opportunity, and of course, the limited seating, especially in Formula 1. It'll be really interesting to see what happens in 2022 with Red Bull and AlphaTauri.
Yeah, definitely gonna be interesting to watch the Red Bull driver development program keep on going, and they're really stacked. It seemed like for a while they didn't really have a lot of talent, but they definitely locked and reloaded, and we're gonna see which drivers are gonna be able to survive this grueling program because it's really tough going through the Red Bull Junior Driver program. Toyota Gazoo Racing unveiled its new Le Mans hypercar to the world. They named it the Toyota GR010 Hybrid LMH, and LMH will replace LMP1 as the top category in the FIA World Endurance Championship. This year, Toyota will compete against another LMH competitor from Scuderia Cameron Glickenhaus and a grandfathered LMP1 from Alpine. Later on, we expect Bikalas and Peugeot to join the LMH battle. Then Audi and Porsche have committed to the Le Mans Daytona H LMDH platform, and those programs will arrive in later years. These IMSA-based prototypes will be eligible to compete alongside LMH in the WEC. However, it is still to be determined if LMH will be allowed to race in IMSA alongside LMDH, and this is all going to come down to whether or not they can issue a good BOP balance of performance for the two different prototypes. Joe, after taking a glance at Toyota's new GR010 hybrid LMH, is this what you had in mind with the hypercar program?
I do, especially after seeing some of the first prototype drawings of the hypercar. Really looks exciting. Can't wait for seeing everything that's going to happen with the new hypercar program. And Toyota, I mean, definitely I feel like they're going to be easily one of the favorites in this class, and already the car is looking good and fast.
To be honest with you, I kind of expected something a little bit different with the Toyota hypercar, and the point I'm trying to bring you see right there, it's the front of the car. I thought we'd have some more styling cues there. I thought it would look something more like a Toyota Supra in a way, but honestly, the new Toyota hypercar, it really looks like an evolution of the LMP1 platform, and I don't have a problem with that at all. I wasn't complaining. I'm just the point I'm just trying to make is when they said hypercar, I was expecting something more like a Toyota Supra, more where the front of the prototype. It looks just like a Toyota Supra. That's what I was expecting, but still, I don't have a problem with the hypercar program or Toyota's design. I think it looks really nice, and it would be really interesting if we see that Toyota race at the Rolex 24 in the future. And heading into the hypercar era, Toyota will bring the same driver lineup. The number 7 Toyota, we have Kamui Kobayashi, Mike Conway, and Jose Maria Lopez. And the number 8, Kazuki Nakajima, Sebastian Buemi, and Brendan Hartley. With a new prototype formula beginning soon, how important is it to have this kind of consistency within the team?
Very important. They is doing a really smart thing of keeping the same drivers. The same drivers, they know how to communicate with each other. When they're telling them the car does this or the car is really doing this, they get an idea of their communication style and how much they're emphasizing on what the car is doing. So now when you have a brand new car, the same drivers, though, thankfully, all working together as they have been time after time again, you still have that same communication. You're going to have some new issues here and there with the new car. It's going to feel different here and there. But having that consistent communication between the drivers is definitely a huge advantage for Toyota.
Yeah, definitely. It's a huge advantage. Same drivers, new car, new era racing. Le Mans Hypercar. It's a very exciting time if you're a fan in sports car racing. But also coming with this new car, this Toyota hybrid LMH, also comes some potential reliability issues early on in the season. Since there won't be many competitors for Toyota to go against initially, if they run into reliability issues, could we see an LMP2 team have an outside chance of stealing an overall victory?
I do see that potential. The question is, when will that occur? It could be something where in the first race we see issues plague the hypercar. That could happen. It could be later on the season. We've seen time and time again where a new car comes out good, and after 3 or 4 races, problems start to arise. The last thing Toyota will want this to happen is at the 24 hours of Le Mans. So I guess more of the question is, when will this happen rather than if it will happen?
Yeah, that's definitely true. We've seen time and time again when new cars enter the sports car racing world, there's always a reliability issue. At some point, we saw it with the brand new Corvette C8Rs last year in IMSA when they first came online, and it's definitely going to happen again with a lot of these new prototypes, whether it's Toyota, Peugeot Hypercar, Audi, Porsche, LMDH. There's definitely going to be some reliability issues, as you mentioned. It's not a matter if it's going to happen; it's a matter of when. And next, gonna talk about a young driver getting an opportunity to race in the NASCAR Cup Series after Richard Childress Racing called him up to substitute for Austin Dillon at the Daytona Road Course. Kaz Grala will attempt to make his second start in the NASCAR Cup Series. This time, Grala won't be racing with RCR, but one of their affiliates, Kaulig Racing. In Grala's Cup debut at the Daytona Road Course last year, he really impressed many people by finishing seventh without any practice in a Cup car. For the second consecutive year, Kaulig Racing will enter the Daytona 500 as an open team, this time with Grala behind the wheel of the number 16 Chevrolet. In addition, Kaulig plans to enter other super speedway and road course races. Grala is expected to drive for the team in some of those events. He's a really solid super speedway racer and very talented on the road courses. This is a great opportunity for him to showcase his talents and put himself in the conversation for a full-time cup ride in 2022. And now it's time to end our program with some quick takes.
Ryan Hunter-Reay will return to Andretti Autosport. Ryan Hunter-Reay posted the announcement on his Twitter page Thursday morning. DHL returns with Ryan Hunter-Reay as well as AutoNation as co-sponsor. Ryan Hunter-Reay has 15 wins since joining Andretti Autosport and one Indianapolis 500 victory. Ryan Hunter-Reay joins Colton Herta, Alexander Rossi as the confirmed drivers with Andretti Autosport. James Hinchcliffe is expected to be confirmed soon.
The Asian Le Mans Series schedule has been updated. Previously, it was announced that all four Asian Le Mans Series races would take place at the Yas Marina circuit in Abu Dhabi. Now, the first two races of the ALMS season will take place at Dubai Autodrome on February 13th and 14th, with the final two races of the season still happening in Abu Dhabi on February 19th and 20th. The Asian Le Mans Series had to make these moves because pandemic restrictions made it difficult for teams to travel from country to country.
Tatiana Calderon will return to Japan's Super Formula Series full-time in 2021. She made it official yesterday that she will continue racing with Drago course. Last year, she missed a couple of races due to quarantine restrictions after racing ELMS and the 24 Hours of Le Mans with an all-female team. This will be Tatiana's second season in Super Formulas.
Brett Holmes Racing will be splitting time in ARCA and Truck Series competition this year. 2020 ARCA Menard Series champion Brett Holmes will run part-time in ARCA and Trucks with the number 23 Chevrolet SS and the number 32 Chevrolet Silverado. Sharing those rides with him will be two-time ARCA Menard Series East champion Sam Mayer. This gives Sam Mayer valuable seat time as he awaits his 18th birthday, so he can go racing full-time in the NASCAR Xfinity Series with JR Motorsports.
Rev Racing will run full-time the ARCA Menard Series with Nick Sanchez. This is Sanchez's fourth year with Rev Racing and the NASCAR Drive for Diversity program. Last season, Sanchez completed in the ARCA Menard Series East title and finished third in the standings. Rev Racing said they'll announce their full driver lineup in early February.
2020 Indy Pro 2000 champion. Stingray Robb will advance to the Indy Lights Series this year. The driver who might have the coolest name in auto racing enjoyed a dominant 2020 Indy Pro 2000 campaign. 7 wins, 5 poles, 11 podiums, led the most laps, and he was the only driver to complete all 485 laps during the season. Stingray was definitely the strongest and most consistent driver in Indy Pro 2000. The competition should be even tougher for him as he takes on Indy Lights.
The 24 Hours of Dubai is in the book. Overall winner, GPX Racing in GTE in a Porsche 911. Some of the women racing in this event that we talked about in Thursday, Samantha Tan. She won the GT4 class, 15th overall. We saw Jasmine Priesting, second in TCR class, 18th overall. Karen Gillard, second in GTX, 35th overall. Now we also saw Formula 4 racing. Hamda Al-Kabasi, Race 1, got 3rd place. Race 2, 5th place. Race 3, 2nd place. And the 4th final race, she got 6th place. More on Thursday's Women Racing to Win program.
The 2021 run of the Chili Bowl is taking place tonight in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But first, we have to get through the alphabet soup elimination races to set the starting lineup for the Chili Bowl. Kyle Larson is looking to go back-to-back in the A main and take home the prize, Golden Driller. His fellow NASCAR rival Christopher Bell is seeking his 4th Chili Bowl victory. Both drivers did advance to the pole shuffle with another name familiar to NASCAR fans, Rico Abreu, who is seeking his 3rd Golden Driller. Other names familiar to NASCAR fans are Justin Allgaier, Brett Moffitt, Chase Elliott, Santino Ferrucci, Ryan Newman, Casey Kane, Chase Briscoe, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. all have work to do if they want to advance to the A main tonight through the alphabet soup races. And you can watch the Chili Bowl tonight on TV with coverage beginning on MAV TV at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time and 5:30 p.m. Pacific. We'll have an update on the final results of the Chili Bowl on Wednesday. Grid tonight.
One quick correction, GT3, I misspoke and I said GTE. So definitely the overall winner was GPX Racing in that GT3 Porsche 911. Definitely we invite you all to check out Patreon, invest in the Grid Network. We've been on the air every week since May 2020. The only exception was December 24th through January 8th for the holidays. We're transparent with your investment. We invite you to join Colin investing in the Grid Network. And for all our friends and fans out there that have dogs, we invite you to visit Pawbless. 10% discount on all purchases made for being a Grid Network viewer. Portion of each sale goes towards helping homeless and ill dogs. We care about our furry friends. Encourage you to check out Pawbless. Definitely a wonderful website. Wednesday, Grid Tonight's on the air. Thursday, the Women Racing to Win. Saturday, Grid Live News and World Rally Championship updates. For Kobe Lambeth at the podium finish, I'm Joe Saniaco. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe. We'll see you next time. Joe Saniaco here. Want to invite you to go check out Pawbless. Pawbless is a dog clothing and accessory company based in Austria. 10% of each of your purchases goes to helping dogs in need, whether it's homeless, sick, or ill dogs. This is one of the reasons why we support it. Kiska here is a rescue dog from rural Alaska and our Grid office dog. We care about our furry buddies, and we know you do as well. Definitely check out pawbless.com. There's a link on the video description, and by clicking on that link, you get a 10% discount on your purchase as well.